The leader has their perception, and then the staff has their perception, and the producers have their perception, and your financial person has their perception of what's going on.
Is this a piece of technology that we need to integrate? Is this a person that we need to hire?
We've got to go off facts and not feelings, and we're doing a lot of feelings stuff instead of fact stuff. All right. Happy podcast day, everybody.
Hello. Good morning.
Love a good podcast day. And it's that time of year. We are all nestled up, fall. Nobody knows exactly when we're shooting this. We do love to get ahead on things. And I happen to love this time of year because not only do you get to wear sweaters, but you also get to eat a lot because then you don't have to wear tiny clothes. You can wear big clothes. The foliage is gone, but it's time to start getting serious about building your plan for next year. And I think a lot of agencies sometimes miss the mark on this because, we're getting into the holidays and it's a downward spiral and the carriers are saying, where's your commitments? What's this look like? You're trying to clean up any losses to get them off your books, potentially for big bonuses. Your staff has a lot of time off. It just feels like, hey, there's a vacation every so often. You've got, Veterans Day and then Thanksgiving and then Christmas comes and New Year's. And it's sort of this mad dash of everything. And I think a lot of agencies have these great intentions of building a plan for next year, but so many of them start like January 15th, which, as you guys know, to me, well, now we have 50 weeks, not 52 weeks. And by the time you build it and you roll it out, you're sort of now really rolling out a Q2 plan. And I think it's so critical that agencies take the time right now, take the next month, pull away from the business to think about what do you really want to do? Because I don't know, I see a lot of agencies operate with the hope is your strategy. Like, well, we're growing. And especially this year, ladies, right? Because, hey, hard market, everybody's looking and saying like, we are growing. You're working with your accountant. You're looking at these numbers and be like, dude, you grew. But this is not going to last forever. And so, as the chips fall, we need to have a better plan. So just kind of curious, Bobby, what are your thoughts on strategic planning, business planning for agencies?
Well, I think that, we have to prepare instead of repair. And I think we enter into that time thinking, you think about the planning piece of it, but then there's still all of we have to communicate this to the staff and we have to get adoption and we have to get people on the same page working towards that common goal. And if we wait too long to start doing that, just like Kelly said, it's now, March and we don't understand why we're not meeting our goals. Or we're just operating on, it will come, but everybody needs a plan. Just like our clients need a plan, our staff need a plan from us, and we need to be intentional about that plan.
Yeah, Therese, do you have any thoughts? I just think we need to set these expectations and build these strategies so we can guide our staff in the right direction and we're not just winging it, which happens a lot. And when they do wait till January, that is correct. They don't roll it out till like March. So it's way too late. So it's a great reminder. It's a great time now to start strategically planning that and rolling it out to staff so staff can be better prepared and they know what's coming and they know what's expected of them. Yeah. And I also think these strategic plans take a lot of time. If you just kind of put a one-pager together, that's not a real strategic plan. That's just sort of checking it off and getting it off your plate. And that's why in this podcast, we really want to talk about like, how do we get started? Early on in my days, it was just me. It's like, why do I need this strategic plan? I'm just going to do whatever I feel like doing. But the problem is like, then you start taking on things. Your resources aren't great. You're not really budgeted. So, it's like, sometimes there's money, sometimes there's not money. And that's not really strategic. The whole idea is that you align all your resources and the power of everybody towards something that would really be great. For us, kind of thinking through how you get started when clients work with us is we have to kind of figure out, hey, where are we right now? And I think as the leader, sometimes you have sort of the blind eye because you're not on the front line. You're not always in the scuttle behind the scenes, right? That like Susie hates Diane and so-and-so is not attaching everything. And this producer slipping stuff under that doesn't meet our qualifications. And I think a lot of times, like we have to just stop and take a true inventory. And I love the quote, people's perceptions is their vision of reality, right? So the leader has their perception, and then the staff has their perception, and the producers have their perception, and your financial person has their perception of what's going on. And so all of it kind of comes in, and what you need to do as a leader is kind of puzzle piece those together. So we always recommend that, and it's actually our free download for the month. So if you want it, that you send out this kind of like questionnaire basically to the team and get all of their feedback, right? What do they love about their job? What do they hate about their job? What are their goals? Where do you want to be, so that you can pull those puzzle pieces together? But I think creating a plan without everybody's feedback really puts it in very tunnel vision, and you're not going to get much buy-in.
Well, I think it also creates a lot of, you're asking your team to work with you as a team. But if I just give them a plan, now it becomes a dictatorship. And guess what my kids never wanted to do if I told them to do something?
Do what you ask.
But if I make it seem like, oh, it's their option, or they have some kind of input, they're much faster to clean up that room.
Right?
Or eat that broccoli, right?
Oh, eat the broccoli. If I put cheese on it, will you eat it?
Yeah. Well, the broccoli's on the plate, right? So we're eating the broccoli. Now we have the option of how we're going to eat the broccoli, right? We may not want to eat the broccoli, but maybe I do want cheese on it, or maybe I want butter on my broccoli. So, when I can at least take that into account and make it a little bit more of a pleasant experience, then they feel like, okay, I have to do this thing, but at least I get to have it somewhat of my way.
And I think structure is important too. Having some kind of structure and setting goals and guidelines and strategizing, it not only helps the team finalize and get to that goal, but it also helps them plan and makes them think about their own goals. And I think goal planning and making strategic plans to accomplish things is really, really important. And there's so many agencies out there that don't do that. That you guys go in and do assessments, and you're like asking these questions. Do you have job descriptions? Do you have this? Do you have that? And a lot of agencies don't have any of that. And that's what builds the foundation and the structure of those agencies that then helps develop that business plan. So the more structured you are, processes and procedures and things like that, it helps your staff learn how to have that structure, those processes and procedures, and follow them. When you start a school year as a teacher, which I've done several times, if you started just kind of winging it without processes and procedures, you have a horrible year. Horrible year. I had a school try to fire me on the Friday before school started on a Monday. And I was like, there is no way, because it's going to reflect on me how unorganized and how unprepared I am. And I can't show those kids that, because it'll be a horrible year because there's no structure. So you have to think of your staff as students. And if you don't have that structure and those processes and procedures in place, if you try to build them, it's great that you're trying to build them. But if you have them in place and ready to go, it just makes everything run more smooth. And it teaches the structure and the habits to your staff. And then your staff can get in the habit of having their own processes and procedures and habits and goals. So I think it's something great for everybody, and everybody learns from it as well.
Yeah. I'll also say too, I think an area most agencies really shy away from is running reports in their system. And I also think that this is the other thought. So we get the team feedback, which is critical. You're going to find a lot of your feedback has a lot of feelings in it. Right. And it might be very in the moment, right? They happen to take it the day that you're short staffed and this carrier's doing this and there was a snowstorm and, so you have to take that and recognize, okay, this has partial information in it. Let me go validate. Right. So you guys know a big one I always use is like, well, we're so busy. Okay. Well, what are we busy doing? How many phone calls are coming in? What is this? Like, we have an agency right now that's doing a retention program. And the staff is swearing on a stack of Bibles that the prep for every call is an hour. And I was like, what are you doing?
You're doing it wrong.
Well, and it's like, well, there's phone calls that come in between. I'm like, well, that's not a true
right.
answer. And we had to go back over, and scuba dive. And so, but in their mind, this is this monstrous process because a renewal call new, they're used to taking inbound requests, right? Like I change a vehicle, I do this, I take a payment. People ask me to do things versus I have to go get out here to a different level. And so I always like to say, okay, well, let's get on a call with Kelly, me, and I'll just be on Zoom and watch them do it and we'll time it. And miraculously, nobody took me up on the offer. Nobody wanted to learn. And then suddenly they got faster.
You're kidding.
Yeah. The magic one, it was, okay, well, now it's going like 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, we're good. So I think you have to pull these reports. But the hardest part, I think, about the reporting side, and you guys know, because we do this for clients, is those first set of reports are often wrong. And people get frustrated and they throw their hands up and then they go buy another piece of technology to make it right because they swear that this piece of technology is going to make it right. Or they start the side hustle spreadsheet. Well, if I can't get a right new business report, we're just going to track it on a spreadsheet, which is also, people, wrong. I've never want to see the spreadsheet be accurate. You just have more trust in it because you understand it. And, I think it's so critical that everybody stop and say, hey, as part of my strategic plan for next year, if my numbers are not right, that has to be one of the top 3 things we nail down next year. If it's messy, let's unmess it up, but commit to that. And I'm curious what you guys think looking at that from your perspectives.
Yeah, I think that too many times we jump to fill solutions because we don't know the power of what we already have installed in our agency. And that may be because we don't have, the right people to figure it out, or we feel like we don't have the time to figure it out, or especially when it comes to numbers. We find a lot of times agency management systems spit out numbers that people just don't understand. Mm-hmm. And then they don't know what to do with them. They only have, or they get the numbers out of the system and now they just don't know how to use them and how to apply that information. So learning that skill is so critical to running a business and being able to make those decisions and understanding, is this a piece of technology that we need to integrate? Is this a person that we need to hire? Do we need to find some VAs and outsource something to help build a cushion in our bench? So, but we can't make any of those decisions. A lot of times when we go into agencies, and Kelly will probably agree, that if we ask the staff, their solution is we need more people. More people. But it's not always more people. It's a process is broken or this or that. But we need the numbers and the metrics in order to be able to analyze that information and really make that determination. So metrics are going to be key to everything that you do, and how getting people operating so that they're putting the right information in the right places in the system too, so that you can get your metrics out that you need.
Well, and I think they're scared of the numbers. I think the numbers are scary because they are facts and they're not feelings.
Right.
Yeah. I think.
You mean we're overstaffed?
Well, and
can't tell you how many times I've had that conversation.
Well, and your higher up managers think that Susie and Jennifer and Sherry are their highest producing, best agents. And when the numbers come out, the reality comes out, the truth comes out, and they're like, wait a minute. She's not doing all this that I thought she was doing because she told me she was doing it? No. And that's what they're scared of. They're scared that those numbers are going to tell the truth. They're going to show the facts, and then they're going to have to figure out how to explain why they're not doing all this stuff that they say they're doing. And they would rather go look for other technology and pretend like the numbers are wrong than just dig into the numbers that they have that are correct, or just need to be, they just need to put them in different categories. But I think the numbers are scary, and they need to learn that we've got to go off facts and not feelings. And we're doing a lot of feelings stuff instead of fact stuff.
I'll just say this. I was scared of numbers. I just got off a vacation and we're on our big goal setting. So I had to go weigh myself after vacation, which is always a really fun experience. And then I also like measure like, all of it. All the numbers were just not in the right direction, which is common for vacation, right? But I
They
also,
were growing.
yes, I was growing. It's very difficult. I don't drink that much anymore, but there was a lot of cocktails. So then there was a lot of other things that happened with that. But it was also like, hey, now I know I got to stay focused. I got to get there. And I think so many times in our lives, maybe numbers have been used as weapons, not as a roadmap. And so people can go ahead and say, I don't want to know my numbers. And I think for a lot of, especially account managers, right? It's like, I kind of just want to stay on the radar screen, do my job, go home, see my family. So now this is an extra layer of pressure and intensity. And in this herd market, there's all that going on. So now this feels like, okay, there's more. Like, how am I ever going to hit this? And I do feel a lot of agencies sharing the numbers as part A. Part B is it's leadership's job to create the plan. It is not the frontline team's job to say, how are we going to raise retention to 92%? The frontline team has to execute your plan. But if you have the numbers and then you don't have, hey, here's the goal and here's how we're going to get there, that is the gap. I think that gets a lot of people tripped up. But I'd say no matter what, if you've never shared numbers with your people before, the first time is a little overwhelming. So I think that, that's part of your strategic planning is here's the numbers, but here also is what we're going to invest in training or tools or technology or processes. And maybe you show the numbers and say, we know that these are wrong. That's why we need to build our processes so that you guys know how to use the system to get this to be right too. So I think that that's another big one. And another one I love on the, how to get ready for your plan is I think leaders and owners have to really look at their job descriptions because they focus on whatever they want, or then they put too much on their plate, or they're doing, taking payments because they're short staffed, which is fine. Sometimes you're going to have to do that. But I think it's also critical if you're a leader that you sit down and say, well, where does your focus and time need to be? If you could make the phone ring more, that feeds everybody. Or if you could work on your processes, that organizes you not having to put up fires all the time. So many owners, especially as your agency is smaller and growing, I think this is a big challenge.
Yeah, no, I think you have to be prepared. And as the owner, you have to decide what you should be doing and shouldn't be doing as well and start to delegate. A lot of them have trouble delegating and they try to do everything. And I think they need to start looking at it and start training so people can take this stuff off their plate. And it may not be training staff. It may be training clients because they have all the clients calling them. Oh, I'm the owner. Oh, talk to me. And they have poorly educated their clients to constantly contact them. So they need to go back and think about what their future is, what they want to be doing, and how to delegate stuff to their staff, to push stuff over to them so they're doing the right things as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, we really want people working in a place that fires them up each day, right? So what lights your spark? What gets you going? I mean, we know that there's always going to be parts of our job description that are kind of those necessary things that we have to do, but 80% of your job really should be those things that are lighting a fire in you, that are causing you to want to come to work and jump into those things and do all of the things that you love to do. And there's somebody to do everything. And so when we learn how to really delegate effectively, it also helps elevate someone else's career. When a more leadership person or an executive person can take something off of their job description and mentor or train someone else to do that, it elevates them in their role too. And that'll create a greater sense of employee satisfaction. They'll feel more engaged. They'll feel like they're going somewhere. And especially in those smaller agencies too, that's going to be critical because those career pathways are not as broad as some larger agencies. And you don't want to hire and train good people and then see them leave. So give them some of those things that they can do to really elevate their career game. And that can be part of your strategic planning is how do we also grow our staff and their skill set?
Definitely. So I think the big thing is, if you're struggling, one, with how to build these plans, a couple of things. We have our course the launch is over by now, but you can still go get it. So this is so different. I don't even like using the word course. I've been using the workbook itself is over 150 pages, which might scare the bejesus out of people. But it walks you through how to get started, how to get your team feedback, how to run these reports, what to do with the information, how to build your plan, how to roll it out to your team, and then even how to hold yourself accountable for the next 12 months to get there. So it's kind of almost like a business planning journal / workbook that you could sit down and say, okay, let me start here with section 1, section 2, section 3 to really guide yourself through it. And then the APP team is here on videos to help guide you through some thoughts and things like that. But I think for anybody who wants to create a really great plan, that you need some structure and guidance. And your brain power needs to be thinking about the agency, not about what goes into a strategic plan and is the template perfect and am I missing something? And you also need to figure out your deadline for it. And so one of the first things that we do is say, when are you going to tell your team? Let's get that in the calendar, make that commitment, get that notification out so that as Christmas comes, you maybe pay someone to wrap your Christmas gifts and work on your plan. Or, try to figure all these things out. But if you go into next year without a plan in this market, I think this market's going to take some twists and turns next year. And I think that's another strategy. Maybe people feel well, I don't know how to plan. This market's so crazy. I can't get a handle on it. Have a plan A, plan B, plan C. Just have your in case of emergency plan. But when leaders are operating emotionally, what you'll find is that it's just chaos and you'll lose people. And to Bobby's point, we can't afford to lose people either. So if we just know that where we're going and what we need to do, that's the plan. So download our free staff template. That's one thing you got. Check out our business planning workbook. I think it's going to help everybody. And we're committed to doing this every year. So next year there'll be an update and an update and an update because we just think agencies need help. And if you want any of the APP team at your kickoff meeting or some extra help, we're here for that too. So thank you, ladies, so much for helping us discuss how they create these wonderful plans that are going to make every agency successful.
I love it. Happy planning. And if you need help, we're here. Let's go.
That's right. All right, everybody. Well, we'll sign off here and let them go find the workbook and the plan and send in their credit card information. Bye, everybody.